Well, lucky for you, that's what I like. That's what I like.
Shining a light on autism and life as an autistic person. Welcome to My Friend Autism, a podcast breaking down barriers, stigma, and misconceptions around autism while increasing understanding and acceptance of the autistic community. And now, here's your neurodivergent host, Orion Kelly.
Hey, thank you for being here. I'm Orion Kelly, that autistic guy. I'm all about providing validation and support for autistic people and their loved ones. And welcome to my podcast, My Friend Autism. It's a video podcast, which means you can watch me do the podcast on my dedicated YouTube podcast channel, Orion Kelly Podcasts, or you can just listen to it. That was weird. Don't know why I did that like that. Or you can listen to it. Wow. You can listen to it wherever you get your podcasts, okay? I love the fact that sometimes people will like email me or comment, oh, wow, your podcast, like I found it on Spotify now. It's like, yeah, it's been on Spotify and Apple and, Google and Amazon and since like 2022. So anyway, I'm glad you have finally found it. It's great to have you along. All right. The journey to diagnosis for a late diagnosed autistic person is bloody horrible for the most part. Soul-destroying, in fact. There's just so many hurdles to jump over, right? So obviously you're not a child. It costs a lot for the most part. And the people charging the money don't have the basic working knowledge of modern-day autism assessment. That's just factual. Therefore, there's misdiagnosis. The whole thing's a bloody joke. So thanks for being here. I appreciate it. The shortest podcast ever. I'm just going to rant. No, that's not right. I want to help you guys. Let's talk through some hidden autistic traits. Okay, now as late diagnosed autistic people, we feel out of place from birth. And because as a child it wasn't picked up, probably because of our generation, because clearly if you're an adult, you were a child at least a couple of decades ago. And if that's the case, well, a couple of decades ago, the knowledge around autism and assessment was very, very different. Not that it's crazy good now, but still. This is not an abnormal day for me to receive comments, emails, messages from adults who either one, have recently been diagnosed or self-diagnosed or are thinking, you know what, I think this is me. It's one of those things. People resonate. They see the videos and the podcasts and they think, you know what, this is ridiculous. You are explaining my life. I thought, because this is what my parents or teachers or friends or family or society, I thought I was just shy or anxious or quirky or not good with others or just a little weird. But then they think, hang on a second, I'm watching these videos, listening to these podcasts, and this seems like me. See, as a kid, we struggle to articulate the things we need to convey to people. Well, and by the way, I think in anything. But imagine if you were born autistic, because that's the only way of getting the old autism. Can't acquire it later in life. You're born autistic. By the way, that laugh for a second there, it sounded like a evil cartoon character. It kind of started out of a breath and kind of built up to just a weird thing. Nevertheless, no idea where I was. That's right. So we're kids, we're born autistic, we have challenges with not only communication and interaction, we have challenges with emotions, conveying them, identifying them, expressing them. How are we supposed to, you just put your hand up as a kid and, I might be autistic. Could we get it assessed? No, that's not going to happen. Because you grew up in a world when you were a kid that didn't understand this is autism. And there's many reasons why. You could say because you weren't, number one, a young white boy, right? And what would be the stereotypical traits? Well, okay, so for starters, you don't speak, right? You're non-verbal, non-speaking, whatever you want to call it. And what else? All the standard classic caricatures. In other words, you weren't most probably a textbook presentation of an autistic child when you were a child, presumably a few decades ago. at the very least. Not that I'm saying, listen, chill out. I'm not calling you old. What is your problem? So what I'll do is I'll talk you through what autism is according to the DSM-5, which is one of, not the only, one of the main worldwide assessment-based kind of criteria for autism. And then the good stuff, I'll go through, in my opinion, some hidden autistic traits that you might not have realized were actually signs of autism because, again, we're getting bogged down in a DSM-5 criteria, which, of course, is the standard approach. Is it the gold standard? Well, no, it's not. It's not even close to the gold standard. It's deeply, deeply unsatisfactory. But anyway, let's talk about it. Okay, cool. Good suggestion. What is autism according to the DSM-5? Just so we're clear, let me just read this verbatim, okay? I don't want to mess this up. Okay, cool. Autism presents with capital A, persistent deficits in social communication and social interaction across multiple contexts, including 1, deficits in social, emotional, reciprocity. Shut up. Yeah, you say it, dickhead. Reciprocity. I don't know, whatever. Ranging, for example, from abnormal social approach and failure of normal back and forth conversation to reduced sharing of interests, emotions, or effect to fail to initiate or respond to social interactions. Number 2, deficits. Don't you love that? Every word starts with, we are deficient. Number 2, deficits in non-verbal communicative behaviours used for social interaction, ranging, for example, from poorly integrated verbal and non-verbal communication to Is it just me or can I not talk? To abnormalities in eye contact and body language or deficits in understanding and use of gestures, says the guy constantly pointing his fingers as he says words, to a total lack of facial expressions and non-verbal communication. People often say, Orion, either your facial expressions are too much or you look like you're dead. And to them I say, thank you, sir. Sure, you're a woman, but thank you, sir. Just despite them. Number 3, deficits in developing, maintaining, and understanding relationships, ranging, for example, from difficulties adjusting behaviour to suit various social contexts to difficulties in sharing imaginative play or in making friends to the absence of interest in peers. Okay. I can't talk to you live and ask you, should we dissect that or should we just move on? So I think we'll just move on because I could do a whole podcast dissecting it, yeah? I feel some people are saying, can you dissect it a bit? And some people are saying, I don't care. And I feel a draw here. Even though I can't actually interact with you, I still feel that. Okay, so for starters, every single thing starts with deficits. Now, yes, to have a diagnosis of a disability, a medically recognized diagnosed disability, you clearly have to you know what? You know I don't edit these. So what I'm trying to say, what my brain's trying to say, but it's going too fast for my mouth. You clearly have to be disabled in certain things. In other words, your disability disables you from doing particular things to the same degree as people who are not disabled in that same way. Okay, so deficits, we could just say it's semantics, it's wordplay. But would it make more sense, let's say you take your kid in, yeah? And all they want to do is, and your kid's there, all they want to do in front of your kid is talk about, all right, let's get to the chase. What's your kid shit at? You see what I'm saying? Like, okay, let's talk about some of the challenges your child has. How hard is that as a change? That's a pretty simple change. Doesn't it sound better? What are some of the things your child is great at and loves? What are some of the things your child has challenges with? Right, let's go through the challenges, but no deficits. That's an issue, I think, personally. Now, the other stuff, yeah, this is my brain saying I can't do it. All right, anyway, imaginative play or making friends. I mean, seriously. So you're saying it's because we're bad at imaginative play or making friends? No, well, don't you think it's actually down to the fact we have challenges with social communication, interaction, with reading, body language, verbal, non-verbal, all these kind of things. And by the way, autistic kids are bloody great at imaginative play if it has a relevance, right, to their special interests. For example, my boys, they love to do imaginative play with regards to what they're really loving at the moment. So dinosaurs, right? They're dinosaurs. One might be, I don't know, Mosasaurus and Dominus Rex. We're talking about from Jurassic World movies kind of thing, right? And they'll be dinosaurs and they'll play. But then if they want to role play something that some kids making them do, there's no chance. So actually, it's not about anything more than they can do these things. They can make friends. They can do imaginative play. But it has to be about things that are part of their passions and interests. Now, that's an autistic thing. That's part of the criteria, in my opinion. But it isn't. So let's move on. This is capital B. Okay, so we've done capital A. Now we're up to capital B of the DSM-5 autism criteria. Okay, so capital B. So I guess we've gone from the social communication interaction stuff now to the what I would class as stimming and regulation. But this is verbatim. Capital B. Restricted, repetitive patterns of behavior, interests, or activities as manifested by at least 2 of the following. And there's 4 in total. So here we go. Number 1. Stereotyped or repetitive motor movements, use of objects or speech. So example, simple motor stereotypes, lining up toys or flipping objects, echolalia, so that's like verbally repeating the sounds and words of others, and idiosyncratic phrases. Number 2, insistence on sameness, inflexible adherence to routines or ritualized patterns of verbal or non-verbal behavior. Example, this is not my example, I'm just reading this verbatim. Example, extreme distress at small changes, difficulties with transitions, rigid thinking patterns, greeting rituals, need to take some route or eat the same food. I said that wrong, so I'm going to clear it up. But you know what? I don't edit these podcasts, so it's after greeting rituals, it's need to take same route or eat same food every day. Number 3, highly restricted, fixated interests. By the way, highly restricted and fixated interests is what, in my opinion, what they're referring to when we talk about special interests and passions. Which, by the way, we have those as a way of regulating ourselves. We find a happy place, we do these things, they keep us regulated in a world that's designed to dysregulate us. Anyway, back to 3. Highly restricted, fixated interests that are abnormal in intensity or focus. Oh, get stuffed, dickheads. What's your problem? Sorry, I don't know why I'm so agitated today, but this is bullshit. Okay, I'm going to stop. I mean, they're abnormal in intensity and focus. To you, they are. It's my problem that I love this, but that's abnormal for you that I love this topic or this interest. What? All that means is you're an idiot. Right? You're a boring tool, and I'm not. Oh, I hate this so much. So, number 3, the highly restricted, fixated interests that are abnormal in intensity or focus. The example they gave is a strong attachment to or preoccupation with unusual objects, excessively circumscribed or perseverative interests. Oh, I'm sick of all this crap. Number 4, hyper or hypo. So hyper over or hypo under reactivity to sensory input or unusual interests in sensory aspects of the environment. By the way, it's unusual if we can find something nice about the environment. You see what I'm saying? Example, apparent indifference to pain, temperature, adverse response to specific sounds or textures. Well, it's an adverse response if that sound dysregulated you. It didn't dysregulate me. Excessive smelling or touching of objects. Visual fascination with lights or movement. Okay. Again, dissect, not dissect. I think I should just move on. But what I will say, some of these make me angry because... So number 4 they're talking about basically saying, now if if you have like this hyper or hypo kind of sensitivity to the sensory, to the stuff, so that makes you broke and you're wrong. There's something wrong with you. It's unusual. It's unusual. But it's also like it's adverse. It's excessive. It's what you have, this fascination. So the idea that the autistic brain could find something fascinating about watching something move is an issue. Do you see how ridiculous? Because neurotypical people won't. Who cares? So you see what I'm saying? We're talking about a different brain here. I love things that I'm fascinated with. I don't give a crap if you're not fascinated by what I'm fascinated by. That doesn't even come into my attention. Why would it? I want you to be fascinated by what you are, and me. And these things are used by autistic kids, by the way, not just adults, to regulate themselves, to in fact help themselves when they're dysregulated, become regulated, become more at peace with themselves. And this is an issue. Okay, the last three. Here we go. Number C. I want to point out that capital C in the DSM-5 criteria is one of the most overlooked, something on my tongue, is one of the most overlooked criteria you're gonna know about once I tell you. Because when you hear it, you think, hang on, this is an adult. This is an adult assessment, right? So it's capital C. So the symptoms of everything you've just heard must be present in early developmental period. Okay, so in other words, you can only be born autistic. You can't catch it. Okay, that makes sense. And you know you suffered through life as a kid. You just thought you were just crap, right? Okay, so symptoms must be present in the early developmental period. Okay, but may not become fully manifest until social demands exceed limited capacities or may be masked by learned strategies in later life. That, my friends, is adult autism diagnosis right there. How many people have heard of it? How many people have gone through it? Think about it. You're born autistic. You know you experienced issues. You know you experienced those, they call them symptoms and deficits, but you know you experienced those challenges we talked about. That's your life. I know I did. You know you did. Okay, but why'd you slip through? Okay, because we all have capacities. Every autistic person is different. Some have high support needs. Some have low support needs. Regardless, they're fluid. So your support needs are fluid. They change by the day. Some will always have a baseline that is significantly higher, some severe. The point is they're fluid. Now, our capacities are therefore different. So when let's say I'm a teenager or I'm in my 20s, no partner, no marriage, no mortgage, no debt, no kids, no stress, do your thing. Yeah, life's good. Capacities, pretty cool. Do I still have meltdowns and shutdowns? Bloody oath I do, because you can't, that was an Australian saying, by the way, you can't actually predict what's happening, but is it something that always happens? No. Keep going. Oh, you start to date. Okay, you're missing out on dates or opportunities at work as you kind of start to grow a bit older because there's more stresses and demands. Okay, you get married. Maybe you have kids, have a job, a mortgage, stresses. What happens? Your capacities go, stuff you, I'm out. Your capacities knock on your door one night and go, I'm filing for long service leave. See you in 3 months. This is what happens. I know, because I'm telling you, I'm at the point in my life now, right? I'm telling you, this is just my feeling, where I now have reached the point where my daily stresses and demands, whether it's, parenting, father, adult, whatever, have now exceeded my capacity to meet them. I don't feel that I regularly am able to meet with my capacities the stresses that are provided. I just don't think I have the ability anymore. And I feel like it's getting worse. Okay, but also masking. So you realized as a child, maybe a teenager, okay, there's something not right about me. And this is, life is hard. It's always going to be hard. I wish I wasn't here, to be brutally honest with you. You're probably thinking stuff like that when you're a kid. What a horrible way to be a kid, but it's true. What have I got to do? Well, I've got to work out a way to fit in. I mean, this is this is the worst and most horrible life anyone could ever want to have. It's just tiring and I'm over it. I'm just a kid. By the way, these are real kids' thoughts, I'm telling you. Okay, I'm going to have to be them. I'm just going to have to work out a way to be them, to find a way to try and fit in. We call that masking, camouflaging, suppressing our true autistic selves. If you've been doing that, so if you've had the ability to do that from childhood and you're now an adult, you've become very good. You've got very good skills and very good strategies to suppress your true autistic self. Doesn't matter if you don't know you're autistic, to suppress your true self that you know people don't like. Better way to put it, maybe. Right? These strategies. So you go to see someone and they go, no, mate, you're not autistic. You can talk to me. You've been to uni. You got a job. You're married. You got kids. What's your problem, dude? You're wasting my time. Go away. And this is an issue. This happens. What a load of crap. Right? They've got to break through that mask and see they've got to do their job. They want to make you wait 7 years and charge you thousands of dollars. Do your job, mate. So that's capital C. Capital D. Symptoms cause clinically significant impairment in social, occupational, or other important areas of current functioning. They can make that sound really horrible and yuck, but the bottom line is autistic people, we have challenges that are disproportionate to neurotypical people. You know that your social challenges, your challenges in getting a job, keeping a job, your challenges in all aspects of functioning in life, right? Your challenges are not something that other people can relate to. And then you watch a video like mine and you go, holy crap, this is me. I can't believe this is like my tribe, my aha moment, people that feel what I feel. And then finally, capital E in the DSM-5 criteria for autism. These disturbances are not better explained by intellectual disability, which I believe may now be referred to as something like intellectual developmental disorder. I'm not sure if that's right, or global developmental delay. There's words for everything these days. The point is they're saying, oh, by the way, before you take the time to say this person is autistic, just make sure that it isn't an intellectual disability. Okay, now that's kind of like a rider, almost a disclaimer or whatever, and that's fine, no worries. But people have to get this through their heads, okay? So for starters, yes, there are some people who are autistic who also have co-occurring conditions, including global developmental delay, some form of intellectual disability. Great. Okay. But that's no different to saying there's some autistic people that have anxiety. Or what are other examples? Some people might be autistic and epileptic, or autistic and have, POTS or whatever. Okay, so the point I'm making is, but it doesn't mean that has any connection. So autism and intellectual, man, cannot talk. Autism. See, the problem is this, if you want an insight, the autistic brain is going too fast, that my thoughts are too fast and too far ahead for my mouth. My mouth simply cannot keep up with my brain. Autism and intellectual disability do not go hand in hand, okay? It is not, in fact, it's not part of autism. So let's just park that. Anyway, here we go. My turn. My turn, DSM-5. Let's go with some autistic traits, in my opinion, okay? Because I think it's more important to look at the real-life lived experience of late-diagnosed autistic adults rather than some stupid ticker box thing that looks like it's very unsatisfactory and it's very much based on kids, and it's just... Anyway, let's start with difficulty connecting with peers and feeling overwhelmed in social situations. We know it. We know this. Social interactions are challenging. We feel overwhelmed by the sensory stuff. We struggle to understand interactions and the social cues. We have difficulty in connecting with peers because of this. This makes us feel isolated, frustrated, angry, depressed. The thing is, though, autistic people can actually excel in certain social contexts. Now, I'm saying this because clearly those challenges apply to you, but you may be quite good at masking, and it might be hard for some people to see these challenges in you, but I know you experience them. So I'm pointing that out especially for, in my opinion only, the women listening, because, late diagnosed autistic women can find it as an uphill battle to diagnosis because of, I guess, the pressures, and also I think it's fair to say that girls tend to get much better lessons in being a people person than boys do. I don't know why that is. I just think that is. And therefore, it's harder for you to get a diagnosis. Number 2, let's talk about stimming and repetitive behaviours. Okay, so do you engage in repetitive behaviours? I'm not talking about this, just the kind of caricature. Sure, you might hand flap or line things up, right? So my boys, like for example, Conan, who's our autistic son. Yep, big fan of, big fan of having toys lined up, things lined up, right? Now, cut to me as an adult, I don't have messy spaces. My things are in their place. They are lined up. They are where they need to be. Okay? That's one of those things. But what I don't want people to get bogged down in is when I say, do you engage in repetitive behaviours, this is more nuanced. Okay, so when you feel dysregulated, yuck, icky, whatever it is, do you do things that would be classed as stimming, right? Self-soothing. For me, now, I've never, because I wasn't diagnosed as a child, I've never really understood the whole idea of stimming toys or tools. I find them odd. I stim pretty much by self-harm. I pick my scalp, I rub my hair, I rub my face, I pick my skin on my fingers and things. I tap my fingers, I move my body. I repetitively move, but basically me, yeah. And the more aggressive, I was going to say, the more aggressive it is, the more my wife or people know that I'm more dysregulated or agitated than I was before. These things happen. These things are things that are core part. And as a late diagnosed autistic adult, I'm certain that this is something you can resonate with, whether it's using things, whether it's the restricted movements, the behaviors. These are the kind of things that are so much more nuanced than what the DSM-5 would have you believe. Oh, do they flap their hands and jump up and down and line up toys? What are you talking about? All right, let's go to number 3. Let's talk about struggling to articulate experiences due to this lack of understanding or language. So we can have our difficulties expressing our thoughts and feelings. Now, this is particularly hard when it comes to communicating our autistic thoughts and experiences. And this can come down to a thing called alexithymia, which is this kind of challenge in not only identifying, but I guess finding a way to convey our thoughts and feelings, or identifying, understanding and conveying that we understand the thoughts and feelings of others. This is a real challenge, and it can come down to many things, not only inside, but also the language. Someone might ask me, how's the pain, or how do you feel right now? Now, inside I know I don't feel good, or I feel a bit sick or something. How would you explain it? And a lot of times I'll say, I'm just feeling a little bit whoopy. So where's the language? I don't know the words to convey what I'm saying, or this is the best, a little bit weird and a little bit wiggly jiggly, so it is a real challenge. And that's really one of the issues that you don't just walk away from. Number 4 is meltdowns. Can you help me out, by the way? Where is it actually explicitly mentioned in the DSM-5? So we are clear. Academic world is clear that autistic meltdowns, autistic shutdowns, autistic burnout, autistic rage, whatever you want to call it, these things are legitimate parts of autism. They are legitimate experiences of autistic people. Of course, they're not really, well, where are they? Frankly, they're omitted in the DSM-5. What does that mean? So if you can explain these experiences, but they're not there, someone might go, oh, okay, that means you must be this. You must have a borderline personality disorder, right? It leads to misdiagnosis. So the fact that DSM-5 just isn't satisfactory in its, where we are right now, what we know right now, can have horrible impacts on autistic people. Meltdowns are legitimate. autistic people experience meltdowns. These are intense emotional outbursts triggered by many things: sensory overload, stress, dysregulation. Look at it like it's a point where we go through life doing our best to stay regulated in this world that's obviously just regulating us because of all our challenges. And our brain reaches a threshold. And when it crosses that threshold, it disconnects, it shuts down, right? In a way where it's like this, well, it is. It's an uncontrollable response by the brain, a meltdown. And it is outward. It's an emotional outburst. That's a meltdown. Where a shutdown, clearly, we can talk about that, is obviously internal. But let's stick with meltdowns. They have a massive impact. See, the more meltdowns you have, the more that's going to impact your functioning ability each day, your mental health, your energy, and of course, the more that's going to open you up to experiencing autistic burnout. Let's talk about autistic burnout then. So autistic burnout, for starters, let's look at it like it is the product of prolonged periods of shutdowns and meltdowns and dysregulation, okay? So this leads to an absolutely chronic state of total exhaustion, mental, physical, emotional. You have reached the point where you've gone through life, you've masked for too long, you've suppressed for too long, you've put yourself through so many meltdowns and so many shutdowns and periods of rage and agitation and dysregulation that you've now experienced autistic burnout. Your body can no longer take all this suppressing and masking and all these experiences, you pushed me through my threshold so many times, I'm out, right? I'm done. So that's what autistic burnout is. Now, the problem with autistic burnout is meltdowns and shutdowns, in my opinion, are fleeting, okay? They're outbursts, releases of tension, an explosion, right, internally, or an implosion. And then they pass. But of course, it doesn't mean that you just move on with life. You might feel tired or agitated or need to get away after them, but you bounce back, right? You do not bounce back from autistic burnout like that. So for a long period of time, I mean, I'm talking, don't say days, I'm talking weeks and months, some people years. Your tolerance now for all your challenges, social, sensory, stress, all the dysregulation, all triggers, all these things is now decreased. It's reduced. And it doesn't come back for a long, long time. So that means prolonged periods of stress. This is where you have to say, okay, I don't want to be there. But then why are you continuing to allow yourself to mask, suppress, allowing yourself days, if not weeks, of unmet needs? Why? Well, where do you think you're going to turn into, right? So, again, it's widely discussed and accepted that autistic burnout is part of the autism experience, yet it's largely absent from most of the literature you'll look at or find, or the diagnostic criteria you'll find. And I don't think that's satisfactory. All right, the next one is dyspraxia, motor skill stuff. So, autistic people can often struggle with motor skills. This might be, you might remember, it took you a while to learn things like riding bikes, doing up buttons, tying shoes. You may even received a diagnosis in your childhood of dyspraxia, a developmental coordination disorder. Now, dyspraxia is actually considered a separate condition. However, there is some evidence suggesting it could actually be a core feature of autism. From my point of view, dyspraxic stuff and motor skill stuff go hand in hand with my experience. So to say that I'm like just naturally coordinated is the wrong thing to say. Everything's hard for me. I love sport, but I have to practice really hard to be good at it, like to get the coordination. And even then I can still drop the ball if I relax, like when I mean drop the ball, literally. If I relax, it all goes to crap. So, and people can say you're so uncoordinated, right? Why you don't even realize where you are in space, like you're walking into walls and doors. What's wrong with you, man? Like it's not like it's a new door. Yeah. Another experience. ADHD and attention. Yeah, so these are my in my opinion, hidden autistic traits. So this is a big argument here. ADHD, autism, what's the deal? Are they the same? Are they different? Clearly they're different. Is there a connection or an overlap? I think there is. I think there's significant overlap between autism and ADHD. There's also significant differences. What I will say is it's more and more clear that there are more autistic individuals receiving both, receiving diagnosis being autistic and ADHD. Now, the challenge of distinguishing between the two, and this debate on what the differences are, that presents a lot of issues, which leads to real trouble in the diagnostic criteria. But again, I think a lot of times if you experience these attention issues, whether maybe you've been ADHD diagnosed first or you are autistic, a lot of times these are insights into potentially an autistic diagnosis. Not for everyone though, but man, it's a great conversation. Let's talk about inertia. Now, I'm not talking about Newton's law. I'm talking about autistic inertia. I'm just going to give me a second here. So Newton's law of inertia. Just give me a second here. So an object at rest will remain at rest unless acted upon by an external force. So that's inertia, right? So there's an object at rest. Can you see for those just listening, I'm holding up like my fist in a ball. Yeah, I made a fist. An object at rest stays at rest because it's just there. Nothing's happening. Now I've got another fist. I have two hands. This fist comes along and hits this fist. And this fist moves because it's been acted upon by an external force, right? See what I'm saying? Okay. Autistic inertia refers to these difficulties initiating, so starting or stopping. You could maybe say, oh yeah, I always tell people I just always feel so stuck. I always feel unable to start things, to stop things. The transitioning is the issue here. Okay, so it's like, well, hang on, if you have trouble starting things, that doesn't make any sense that you have trouble stopping things. It's like, because wouldn't you just stop that's the thing. So once you get started, you don't want to stop. Right? It's as hard to tell an autistic kid to do something as it is to tell an autistic kid and / adult to stop doing something. But that makes no sense. They struggled so hard to get going. What do you mean they're going to struggle to stop? That is the experience. This is autistic inertia 101, my friend. And this absolutely impacts our day, our functioning, and our ability to complete tasks. Right? It absolutely affects productivity. And it affects self-care. Why? Well, if we're not showering and we need to shower, that's going from at rest to movement, yeah? Like that's going. We need the external force. This is the issue. Autistic people can get really stuck in something and can't stop, but we can also get really stuck in not doing something we need to do. Do you experience that? To me, that's core. Another one is stimming behaviors as a means of self-regulation. So we talked about the repetitive behaviors. Now, these types of things you can do for all manner of reasons. But when you are specifically doing it to regulate yourself, you're doing it as a coping mechanism to regulate sensory input, stress, whatever it is. So this is something that I want you to think about in a different context, because repetitive behaviors are things that we do as a standard operating procedure, yeah? But then my wife will, if I start to rub my head or my face or my hair really aggressively, my wife will know I am trying to self-regulate. I'm trying to self-soothe. It's a great warning sign. Another one is masking by mimicking. So as an adult, maybe undiagnosed, do you find you engage in this kind of masking, this kind of camouflaging, acting? So maybe you're consciously doing it, maybe you're unconsciously doing it. I think it's usually conscious only because there's something there's something not right about you with regards to connecting. You think you're just bad, broken, whatever. You realize it. So, well, I've got that I'm going to have to be like them. So you kind of consciously realize, I'm not very good, am I? I'm not. People don't like me. I better try and be liked. Right? So you're suppressing by stopping being you and trying to act more like them, trying to blend in, fit in. So that may help you navigate social situations, but it comes at a massive cost. Right? There's the exhaustion, the mental health, and also, well, it's not you. You're playing a role you can't play forever. Like actors get to hear cut and stop. Like unless you want to act that character for the rest of your life, at some point you will have to stop. And then they'll be like, well, who's this? Yeah, that's a big one. Another one is feeling like an outsider, feeling different from others. You might not be able to actually even pinpoint why. Man, I feel that. I'm telling you, I feel that. I feel different from others, whether it's my own family, friends, community. I feel like an outsider, and I just don't understand why. Now you go, well, because you're autistic. Yes, but if you don't have a diagnosis, you might not know that. Either you do. I still can't tell you why, though. Why do I still, even though I have a diagnosis or I know what the reasons, why do I still feel like I don't know? Why I feel so different? Why everything feels so foreign to me? It's a horrible feeling. Autistic people absolutely can resonate with this feeling of an outsider, struggling to understand why we see the world so bloody differently. It's like, I wish someone could tell me. Now, the answer is you've got an autistic brain, meaning that, because the brain, clearly you experience the world through a brain. Now, the brain is different. You have an autistic brain. You can't experience the world the same. So it's a simple answer, but it doesn't change the fact you still don't get it because you feel so different. And when you feel different, you feel like an alien. You feel alienated, but also like an alien. So you're constantly searching for who am I? Where did I come from? Who are my people? This identity. And it almost never comes. It's a really, really perpetually horrible feeling. I got a couple more for you. So discovering your autistic identity later in life through these types of things. This is another, in my opinion, another hidden autistic trait. So many people could watch my videos or other content creators' videos and go, no, I don't get it. I don't dig it. It's not my wavelength. I don't resonate with it. However, there are also a large amount of people who go, oh my goodness. Aha, this is me. Me too. Wow. Oh, wow. This is my life. I can't, and their head explodes. Not literally, of course. Right? Through exposure, exposing themselves to these types of resources, videos, podcasts, whatever it is, chat rooms, comments. And then they start to get entrenched into this autistic community and they go, wow, so you get what I'm saying? You say you understand what I'm saying. You don't think it's weird? Or you can help me? It's a realization that not only empowers you, but it actually provides you with this kind of understanding, this framework to not only accept that you are different and not broken, but also that you can take that assessment phase forward, whether it's medically, yourself, or whatever it is. Embracing your authentic self and reframing, understanding who you are. As an adult, undiagnosed, late diagnosed, this is a major trait. So you discover this identity. And then as a result of that, you embark on this journey of self-discovery and acceptance. Many people have told me this. The videos have got them, and then they've become not obsessed, but they've become like really focused on learning and discovering more. And through doing that, they start to really embrace this authentic self. They reframe their entire view of themselves. And it's liberating and it's transformative. And they start to feel, okay, so this there's nothing about this that doesn't feel completely authentic to me. I see myself as this. Now, this one, it's finding liberation and challenges. So it's good and bad. In unlearning years of masking and trying to accept who you are as an autistic person. Masking is something you've done naturally to fit in. There's nothing natural about unmasking. It's bloody hard. Because you're basically unlearning years of being someone you're not, masking behaviors. Conversely, trying to embrace your true, authentic, autistic self. So yeah, it's liberating. It's bloody great. But it's a horrible challenge. So you've set the benchmark for who you are and how people like you. But now you're tearing it down. What do you think's going to happen? Like, you've played a character and now you're going to drop the mask and be yourself. People are going to be like, who the hell is this? Well, who are you? So, you might feel so empowered about being able to accept who you are and drop the mask. But then you might realize, oh, this is really hard. Number one, I don't know when I am masking anymore. I don't know who I am. Who is the real me? But then there's a challenge of people are going, oh, who are you? Who's this guy? I don't like this person. Right? And again, the DSM-5 definitely acknowledges that autistic people mask their traits, but in very limited specificity in the diagnostic criteria. And frankly, autistic people, I think, have a lifetime of pressure, regardless of diagnosis or not. So, okay, you're different. Don't be different around me, right? At the very least. We have to mask our differences, our autistic traits. And what happens is, well, how are you ever going to get an accurate diagnosis if you've become so entrenched in doing this that when you present for an assessment, you don't even know you're doing it? How are you going to obtain an accurate diagnosis if medical practitioners don't have the tools and abilities to see through the mask? This is a major issue. And in my opinion, another hidden trait. Here's the last one. Recognizing validity of experiences and finding solidarity with others. So, like I said, are you starting to feel connection to not only your experiences, but you're hearing my experiences or others in the community and going, wow, I so resonate with that. But then that means that you're validating my experiences and I'm validating yours. I say it at the start of every video. I'm all about providing validation and support, right? That's what I'm all about because that actually helps. You find that validation, that solidarity. It's affirming, it's empowering. And then you connect and you share experiences and then you help other people. And then you feel belong, you feel acceptance, right? You feel like this is my tribe. And if anything can be achieved, that's what I want to achieve. You listen to the podcast, watch the videos, and you go, oh my God, I found my tribe.
My Friend Autism with Orion Kelly. Join the conversation now by following Orion Kelly on Facebook.
Well, there you go, my friends. How did you enjoy that? I hope you did. Let me know if you did. If you didn't, just get stuffed. I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for your support and your time. Let's do this again soon, okay? I guess. Until then, thanks for watching and listening, my friends. We'll talk soon.
You've been listening to My Friend Autism with Orion Kelly. To join the conversation, get in touch with Orion and binge all the podcasts, blogs and videos, visit orionkelly.com.au.